Welcome back. We are discussing the lesson tissues. In the previous sessions, we have discussed in detail about the different types of plant tissues. In this session, we will be discussing about animal tissues. When compared to plants, animals have more complex parts and they are mobile, and most of the cells or tissues are living. Now, if you look at any animal, take for example human beings. When we look at our body, what are the different organs or tissues that you observe? Let us start from the outside. The outer surface of the body, as you know, is covered with skin. What type of tissue is skin made up of? Next, when we go inside, we can feel that there are certain muscles. Are muscles tissues? Then inside that we have bones. The entire framework is made up of bones. What type of tissues are bones? Then we find nerves everywhere, blood vessels everywhere. What are these made up of? What about blood? So all these things we will be discussing in this session. So in general, we can classify the tissues in animals into four main categories: epithelial tissues, connective tissues, muscular tissue, and nervous tissue. We will discuss about this briefly in three important heads. Take for example epithelial tissue. The location, where are these type of tissues found? Number one. Number two, what are the cells in these tissues made up of, or how are these tissues organized? Number two. And number three, what functions do they perform in the human body? So under these three heads we will discuss all the four types of animal tissues.
The first type of animal tissue is epithelial tissue. In this type of tissues, the cells are very tightly joined, they are closely packed. Because of this, there are no intercellular spaces between the cells. One side of the tissue is exposed outside, either to air, or if these are present inside the body, they are exposed to some internal fluid. And the lower portion of the epithelial tissue is made up of a basement membrane. So there is a upper portion and a lower portion called as basement membrane. Epithelial tissues are covering tissues, meaning they are present on the outer surface of the body. They are also present as linings of internal organs and cavities. The main function of epithelial tissue is they act as a barrier against mechanical injury. They also offer protection from microorganisms, and they prevent any loss of fluid inside the body. So they are covering as well as protective tissues. Not only that, epithelial tissues are suitably modified for absorption of substances inside the body, for transportation of molecules, and they also secrete certain kind of substances inside the body. Epithelial tissues can be classified as simple epithelium or stratified epithelium. In simple epithelial tissue, it is found of only a single layer of cells, as you can see in the diagram. Whereas in stratified epithelium, it is made up of many layers of cells which are present one upon the other. Therefore, simple epithelium has functions of absorption and filtration, whereas stratified epithelium offers protection. Based on the shape of cells, epithelium can be classified into three different types. In general, epithelial cells have hexagonal structure, making them appear as honeycomb-like structure. This hexagonal shape allows the cells to be closely packed. This kind of epithelial cells are called as squamous epithelium, which are flattened or scale-like cells. The second type of epithelial cells are cuboidal cells. These are box-like cells. Their width and length are almost the same. And the third type of epithelial cells based on the shape are called columnar epithelium. These cells are tall or pillar-like, hence they appear to be column-shaped. So based on the shape, epithelial tissue is classified into squamous epithelium, cuboidal epithelium and columnar epithelium. Let us look at these one by one. The first type, squamous epithelium or simple squamous epithelium, as the name says, squamous means scale-like. These are highly flattened cells which are closely packed. They are present in the walls of blood capillaries, blood vessels, near the air sacs, that is in the alveoli of lungs. So their functions is absorption and filtration. For example, look at the blood vessels. It is for absorbing the nutrients, and filtration in the lungs where exchange of gases takes place, that is squamous epithelium. The second type of squamous epithelium is stratified squamous epithelium, where there are more than one layer of cells which are packed one above the other, as you can see in the diagram. Because there are many layers, their main function is protection. This type of stratified squamous epithelium is seen in the skin, what we see in the outside of the body, skin. They are also present near the mouth, vagina and also moist lining of the esophagus. So their main function is protecting the underlying tissues from any kind of wear and tear. Let us look at the second type of tissue, that is cuboidal epithelium. As the name says, they form a single layer of box shaped or cube shaped cells. The cuboidal epithelium, they are present in the glands and in the ducts, that is in the pancreas gland, salivary gland in the mouth. Also they are present in the kidney tubules and in the germinal layer of ovaries. Their main function is secretion. They secrete certain types of substances. They are also included in transportation in the glands. Not only that, since they are present in the kidneys, they act as filtration units because they are single cell layer thick. That is about cuboidal epithelium. The third type of epithelium based on the shape is columnar epithelium. These cells are elongated, pillar shaped or column shaped. Their distinct feature is that the nucleus is seen at the lower level, at the base of the cells. Their main function, like cuboidal epithelium, is absorption and secretion. They also offer some amount of protection. Sometimes the columnar epithelium contains hair-like structures on the outside called as cilia. In this case, it is called as ciliated epithelium, which is seen in the respiratory tract as well as in the fallopian tube in the female reproductive system. This columnar epithelium can also move inside and they form a sac-like structure called as glands. Therefore, they also form glandular epithelium. Because their main function is secretion and absorption, we can find columnar epithelium in the inner organs such as stomach, small intestine, etc. That is about the three types of epithelium tissue: squamous epithelium, cuboidal epithelium, and columnar epithelium. Here is a simple exercise for you. Diagram is provided. Can you label the blank spaces with the appropriate type of epithelial tissue? The next type of tissue is connective tissue. Connective tissue, as the name indicates, they connect different parts of the body, different organs. These are fibrous tissues. If you look at the structure of connective tissue, you find that it contains a non-living jelly-like substance called as matrix. Present in the matrix, we find different types of cells. These cells are loosely arranged and they have lot of intercellular spaces. Also, we find that in the matrix there are certain fibers which may be arranged regularly or irregularly. As the name indicates, the main function is to connect the different types of tissues in the body. They also support and bind other tissues, acting as links. These are also responsible for offering shape to the different organs, and they support or they keep the organs in proper positions. There are in general 6 or 7 different types of connective tissues. Because they are present everywhere in the body, these are the most abundant type of tissues in the human body. Their main functions are also to fill the spaces in between the organs and tissues. They also store fat. They are richly supplied with blood vessels, that is, they are well vascularized. Let us now look at the different types of connective tissues. The first type of connective tissue is areolar tissue. In areolar tissue, all the cells are found spread in the matrix. These are mostly filler type of tissues, meaning wherever spaces needs to be filled, for example in between the skin and the muscle, in between the organs, we find areolar tissues. So these areolar tissues are found below the skin. They are present in the digestive system, respiratory system, urinary tract. They are present between the muscles, around the blood vessels, around the joints, and around the nerves. So their function is to cushion or support the organs. But because the cells are spread, they will also help in movement of the cells. They may also contain phagocytic cells called as macrophages, which will help in protection against pathogens. So areolar tissue is a type of filling tissue. The second type of connective tissue is called adipose tissue. Adipose tissue is made up of cells called as adipocytes. Their main function is storage of fats, especially brown fat in small children. So it is a storage tissue which stores fats. These tissues are highly vascularized, meaning they have rich supplies of blood vessels. Each cell it contains a large vacuole which is filled with fat droplets. Adipose tissue is found beneath the skin. In between the skin and the adipose tissue, we find the areolar tissue. The next type of connective tissue is called as specialized connective tissue or supportive connective tissue, meaning they provide support to the different organs present in the body. First one among this is the cartilage. The cartilage tissue is made up of specialized cells called as chondrocytes. These are present in a matrix of proteoglycans. They do not have any blood supply, therefore if the cartilage is damaged, it takes lot of time to heal the wound. Where do we find cartilage tissue? Cartilage tissue is flexible, it is not rigid. Because of this flexible nature, we find cartilage in the trachea, in the nose, ear, in between the joints, between the vertebrae, etc. So cartilage is responsible for offering mechanical support as well as flexibility. The next type of specialized connective tissue is bone. Bone is present in the internal skeleton of the body. The bone is responsible for providing rigidity, strength and support to all the internal organs. It offers a framework to which different tissues, muscles, organs can attach themselves to. When compared to cartilage, bones are rigid and very strong. The cells that form the bone are called as osteoblasts and osteocytes. Unlike the cartilage, bone contains calcium salts and also phosphorus, due to which it is very rigid and very strong. Bone provides strength to the body. Also, when compared to cartilage, bone is highly vascular, meaning it is richly supplied with blood vessels. So, the healing time required for a bone injury is comparatively lesser as compared to a cartilage injury. That is about the cartilage and the bone, which are specialized connective tissues. We know that connective tissue is made up of matrix in which there are fibers. If the fibers are arranged closely and in a regular pattern, we call it as dense regular connective tissue. There are two types of regular dense tissue, tendon and ligament. Their main function is to attach muscle to bone and bone to bone. For example, ligament is a connective tissue which connects bone to bone. It is flexible. Tendon is a connective tissue which connects muscle to bone. It is rigid. So these are dense regular connective tissues. The last type of connective tissue is blood. Because blood is fluid, it is called as fluid connective tissue. Blood is made up of two important substances. The liquid component called as plasma. In the liquid component, we find the elements. These are nothing but the cells, RBCs that are erythrocytes, WBCs leukocytes and platelets. The blood performs various functions. It is involved in transportation of food, removal of waste, transportation of oxygen and carbon dioxide, transportation of water. Blood is also the medium in which various biochemical reactions take place in the body. Blood also offers transport of water and it's also responsible for bathing all the cells, creating a medium. Blood in human beings is transported within the blood vessels called as arteries, veins, and capillaries. So, blood is called as a fluid connective tissue. To summarize, connective tissue, it connects and binds different organs and tissues in the body. Not only that, it provides support, strength, and flexibility to the different parts of the body. Let us now move on to the next type of tissue, that is muscular tissue. The muscular tissue is made up of muscles. Muscles are present both outside the body and within the body in the organs. If you look at the structure of a muscle, as you can see in the diagram, a muscle is made up of bundles of myofibrils, which are nothing but fibers. These myofibrils are bundled together closely into structures called as fascicles. So, if you look at a muscle under a microscope, you would see muscle fibers, which are in turn made up of myofibrils. The muscles have four basic properties. They have contractibility, which means they can contract. They are excitable, meaning they can receive information from outside and they get excited. They are extensible, meaning they can increase in length, and they are elastic, which once again shows the fact that they can contract and relax. The main function of muscular tissue or muscles is movement. They are responsible for movement of different parts of the body, and they also help in locomotion. Based on the functions, there are three types of muscle tissues: skeletal muscles or striated muscles, cardiac muscles, and the third type, smooth muscles or unstriated muscles. Let us look at the types of muscles in brief. The skeletal muscles, as the name suggests, they are muscles attached to the bones. So that is where we find the skeletal muscles. These muscle cells or myofibrils, they are long and cylindrical in shape, and they are multinucleate. One of the most important features of skeletal muscle is that we can find a dark light band like pattern when observed under the microscope, as you can see in the diagram. These are what are called as striations. Therefore, skeletal muscles are also called as striated muscles. Because these are attached to the bones, these are under our own control, meaning we can move these muscles at our will. Thus, they are called as voluntary muscles, which we can control. We find such type of muscles in the hand, leg, face, etc. The smooth muscles are found inside the body in the organs. They are called smooth muscles because, unlike the skeletal muscle, there are no striations. Therefore, they are also called as unstriated muscles. These muscle cells are elongated, spindle shaped, meaning at the ends they are narrow, in the middle they are broad, and they have only one nucleus per cell. These are present in the stomach, the intestine, esophagus, etc. Their main function is helping in transport of substances such as food, urine. Also, they are involved in childbirth. These muscles are not under our control, meaning We cannot move these muscles at our will. Hence, they are called as involuntary muscles. They are also found in the iris of the eyes. The next type of muscle is cardiac muscle. Cardiac meaning the heart. These type of muscles are present only in the heart and some of the blood vessels coming from the heart. Their main function is to contract and relax rhythmically, hence transporting blood from the heart to different parts of the body. Hence, they play a very important role in the circulatory system. The cardiac muscles are made up of cells that are branched. They contain only one nucleus per cell and they have a special feature called as intercalated discs that are present in between the cells. Because of the branching nature of the cardiac muscle fibers, they will help in contracting and relaxing the heart as a single unit rhythmically and uniformly. These are also involuntary muscles, meaning they cannot be controlled by our will. That is about the three different types of muscles: skeletal muscles, smooth muscles, and cardiac muscles. The last type of tissues found in animals is nervous tissue. It is made up of two types of cells: nerve cells and the supporting cells. The nerve cells are called as neurons and the supporting cells are made up of neuroglial cells. These nervous tissue are present in the brain, spinal cord, and all the neurons that are originating from the brain and the spinal cord. Their main function is conduction of nerve impulses, meaning they are responsible for sensing the information from the environment, sending it for processing, and finally reacting to this information. So they are involved in information processing. The neuroglial cells in fact are more in number than the neurons. For every one neuron there are 9 neuroglial cells. These neuroglial cells, they support, protect and provide nourishment to the neurons. The neurons or nerve cell are the structural and functional unit of the nervous system. A neuron is made up of three important parts: cell body, dendrite and axon. The main body of the neuron is called as the cyton or cell body. It contains a nucleus in the center. It has got certain specialized granules called as Nissel's granules. From the cell body we find small branches that arise. These are the dendrites. The dendrites are responsible for receiving the information. Once the information is received, they convert this into a electrical impulse or a nerve impulse. The nerve impulse will then pass through the cell body and then it is taken to the next part of the extension of the cell body called as axon. The axon is the longest part of a neuron. Axon may be covered by a myelin sheath or the myelin sheath may be absent. In between the myelin sheath where it is absent, we have certain junctions called as nodes of Ranvier. The nerve impulse is transported through the axon and at the end of axon we find nerve endings or axon endings. From the axon endings, the nerve impulse can then be transferred to the dendrite of a next neuron, or ultimately the nerve impulse will be passed on to the muscle. On receiving the nerve impulse, the muscle gets excited, resulting in contraction and relaxation. So this is one example of function of neuron. So neurons are involved in receiving the information, processing the information, and transportation of information. That is the end of the lesson. Tissues. Thank you.